Hello, welcome everyone to the next perfect step where all possibilities lie in conversation. I'm Laurie Mullen, along with my co-host Laurie.
And I'm Laurie Tremblay. We're very happy to be here. We're both holistic practitioners, and we love to have conversations. Today, we're so thrilled to have Dr. Joel Bennett and his colleague Cynthia Conigliaro with us today. Joel Bennett is president and founder of the Organizational Wellness and Learning System, OWLS, which is a consulting firm specializing in evidence-based wellness technologies to promote organizational health and employee well-being. He's got a long and prestigious career, has co-authored many books, and has a book coming out this week, which we're excited to hear about. Laurie?
Yes. The Quest for Present Inventory invites you to contemplate how personality and soul interact in ways that attract your destiny and witness how your whole life is generally unfolding right now. Complete with contemplation tools, poetry, the author's personal stories, case studies, a glossary, and index research notes. The Quest for Present collection is based on over 20 years of research and experience delivering workshops on this material. It follows from Dr. Bennett's book, Time and Intimacy, A New Science of Personal Relationships, and Raw Coping Power from Stress to Thriving. So Laurie and I are both students of the concept of time and the power of presence. So we would love to hear about your theory, Dr. Bennett, on time and the power of presence as it goes along with your new book.
First and foremost, there's no such thing as time. Okay, next.
Right. Well, as we go, I mean, right. So the concept, there is no time. One of your books talks about time and well-being. So how does well-being fit in with the concept of no time?
There's so much. I know these are pretty lofty ideas and concepts, right? I think to ground it, I know that a number of people who I've spoken to in the very early days of COVID during the pandemic, they reported that they didn't see any airplanes in the sky. There was a lot of removal of hustle and bustle, and there was a sort of a period of quiet and calm. And it was almost like a window opened up. And I think, just as a starter point, people have experiences where, quote, time stops, where all of a sudden there's a removal of busyness. And what we're talking about is, or a way to look at that is, that's clock time. That stopping the clock, you know, the hourglass running out. So I think in those moments, we become more present. It's really that simple, because we're not on the clock. We don't have to be somewhere. We're not rushing to the next thing. So I'll start there and just say that's the simplest way that I know of, or one of the simplest ways to just bring the topic up. And you know, there's a lot of different trajectories from that point, but I think let's stop there and see if that makes sense, if you have any comments about that point.
Yeah, it does make sense. I mean, we've definitely, in exploring time, I've heard it used as like we use it as a human as a measurement, right? Like we've we get to a certain age and that we're using time as like measurement points. You know, and I've explored time of ways like slowing down times, like when I'm late and I feel rushed, I slow things down in order to be there. So there's ways to stretch it out. I just find it a fascinating, you know, there's parts of me that totally understand all of that. And there's my human brain that's just like, this is too much to totally grasp it all. So I love having this conversation.
What do you mean what's too much? What is it that you're saying is too much that?
Well, not necessarily too much that I totally fully can't grasp. You know, we are raised and we believe and we work off a clock to believe in time and to know that there really is no time. Like there's a part of me that really understands that time doesn't exist. And yet there's a part of me that says, I don't understand how we don't have time.
I
Like
think
there's two parts of me that kind of pulls. It's like taffy pulling. Like I get it, but then there's a part of me that's like, I don't understand how you get that.
and I think too, for me, is when you're in a creative mode, like I play music or I'm doing art or whatever. When you're in that space, to me, there's always time stops or there's no time. It's just being right there, and there is no such thing. That's the closest I felt to there being no time.
It's
Yeah.
almost like a flow state, right? Because I
That's
play
it,
the
yeah.
guitar, and I that's exactly how I feel when I'm playing guitar.
Right.
That's exactly right. Cynthia brought up flow, and there's been there's what I call different capacities for this experience that you're both talking about, of where you sort of enter into a timeless space. And one of those capacities is flow. And the creative process, playing music, dancing, art, you can enter into a flow state. And of the different capacities, flow is the most researched. There's actually a lot of research on the flow experience based on the work of Csikszentmihalyi, which we can put in the liner notes. And one of the hallmarks of the flow state, and this is research, is a sense of timelessness. Time evaporates. So this is not uncommon. It's a universal experience. And it also occurs in very high performance athletic competitions. So first and foremost, what we're talking about is a very real part of human experience, this entering into a space of timelessness. And there's two Lauries here, so I'll try Laurie M, who've commented first. It's like, how do you get there? Well, we already started answering the question. One of the ways is by cultivating this capacity for flow, by engaging in creative pursuits or athletic pursuits, you know. The other capacities, and I talk about this in the previous book, book 2, I call these soulful capacities. The other ones are acceptance, presence, and synchronicity. So my quick way of explaining these is that I am one impatient SOB. Cynthia will tell you it's genetic. And so when one is impatient, there's no acceptance. It's like, when are we going to get on to the next thing here? And so people have done research on this thing called time urgency and time pressure. And there was a whole body of research on what was called the type A personality and its relationship to cardiovascular disease risk. Sense of having to get to the next thing, and when is this gonna happen? Okay, already, when can we move on? Do we have to do this? Let's go. Well, so that's the opposite of acceptance. There are many other opposites of acceptance, like resentment, holding on to the past, perfectionism, woulda, shoulda, coulda, shame, blame, and addiction. So acceptance, unlike flow, is a more like the real deal. You know, if you know or have ever been involved with an addiction of any kind, there's, you know, God grant me the, what is the prayer? God grant me the serenity to accept the things
What
I
I
cannot
cannot
change.
change.
Yeah, that's right. So acceptance is also a way that we come into timelessness. It's different than the timelessness of the flow state, but it's a sense of letting go, you know, of serenity, and of a wider understanding that, you know, this too shall pass. So acceptance is another one. And then presence we've talked a little bit about, and then synchronicity we can have a whole nother discussion on, but that is like the meaningful coincidence that wasn't supposed to happen. How did this happen? And how did this all come together? This is magical. So that's another place where we enter into a space of timelessness or whole time that's different than clock time. So you take all these together, you know, and I'll stop and just say that humans have these experiences that have nothing to do with clock time.
Synchronicity is amazing because it is so much outside of time, and it's just, that's one of my favorite things to witness and to experience.
Do you have a memory or something you want that you can?
Oh gosh, you asked me too quickly.
You'll think of it tomorrow.
Right. Let me, if I will think of it and fill you in if it pops in my head. But yeah, it's great. Well, Cynthia, you mentioned you had been a student of Dr. Bennett's. Had you experienced, what was your, what brought you to the studies, and what was your interest in the subject?
So I was volunteering for an organization called the Worksite Wellness Council of Massachusetts. And Dr. Bennett was one of the speakers. Maybe he was the keynote actually at our annual conference at Gillette Stadium. Were you the keynote?
No,
Yeah.
again, I
You were
don't.
not. You were one of the presenters. Okay. But I didn't even see you that day. I was too busy working the conference, so I didn't see him. But I did hear about him. And then he offered his resilience facilitator training to the members of this group that I was volunteering for. And so I took his training because I've always been fascinated with the concept of resilience. I just always have for so long. And I incorporate resilience with my coaching. And I was just so excited about everything about resilience. So when I heard he was teaching this class, I took the class. And that's how I kind of got to know Dr. Bennett.
Nice. That's great. So I remember a synchronicity story. It's just a little one, but
Oh, good.
my friend, I had a friend who was having a hard time, so I sent her a card with a flower on it. And she, when the day that she received it, she said she was drawn to this particular flower. And it was the same flower that was on the card that I sent her. And she sent me a picture of the flower that she had looked at in my card. And she said it, you know, touched her, made her cry. And it was just like perfect timing for her. So that's a little one.
That's a beautiful
Yes.
one. They happen all the time. You know, I think I believe that they're always there. It's just our consciousness doesn't necessarily resonate with it. You know, I always say that even this is a synchronicity, that even our meeting now, that there's something happening in each of our lives that if we were unabashedly intimate with each other, we would soon discover how deeply connected we are.
Yes. Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, I also think it's something you talk about us always, having that personality, like we're always on the go, go, go. And sometimes I don't think that we even see the synchronicities around us because we're rushing around so much. Or we have it in our minds that it's supposed to look a certain way, right? We're looking for a feather falling, or we're looking for a penny on the ground, when synchronicity comes in so many different ways.
Mhm.
That if we could stop and be present, that we may see more of the synchronicities presenting themselves. I mean, I definitely understand. Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah. I mean, I think if I'm looking, I know people are listening to this, but you have a sort of a cherry blossom Japanese print behind you. The Laurie T has what I seem to see. There's a tree picture on the wall
Mm-hmm.
and another plant behind her, along with what is that beautiful flower
An
called?
orchid.
An orchid,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Cynthia's background is completely blurred, so it's impossible to know what's going on. And I have, this sunset behind me. So both of you are at least in sync with each other. Because you've got the trees. So, not that I don't have some here somewhere, but I think a big part of synchronicity is learning to see patterns, learning to see similar patterns. And like, where did you get that? Tell me, how did you get to that? Why did you put that picture of the tree up there? And then why did you put your background? And then you start having that conversation, and generally something comes up.
True. It's meaningful. And
Yeah. Laurie and I both met in herbal school, so we have an affinity for plants and stuff like that. So, I mean, I just love cherry blossoms. That's where mine came from. And I think we just have the, synchronicity of both loving nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Dr. Bennett, I wanted to ask you something completely different. You had talked about resonance a lot in your work as well. And for me, I think I wanted to hear what your idea of resonance is, because I think I can experience it sometimes, but I wanted to see what your idea is about it.
Oh, it's so rich. There's so much to it. You know, there, I'll start by saying, let's first say that there's multiple ways of looking at it. I had been trained in a energy healing modality called resonance repatterning, which uses applied kinesiology, muscle checking, to help the client or the group identify what they were resonating with, and also what they weren't resonating with, and also whether or not, in either of those cases, whether whatever that was they were resonating or not resonating with was healthy for them or unhealthy for them. So what I learned from doing that work with many clients in my own personal life was that we can vibrate with things that are good for us. And it could be anything from a color to a plant, to a food, to a person, to a system, to a job, or to even not drinking enough water, whatever it happens to be. So that's one way of understanding resonance, that are we vibing with, are we on the same frequency as something that's fulfilling us or not. That's one form. So the other experience, which we talk about in our coach training, is empathic resonance, which is when you're in a conversation with somebody and you're really listening as a coach, and the other person senses that you're not only listening with your ears, but you're listening with your heart and maybe your whole body. And so that's another form of resonance, empathic resonance. And then the other form, which I'll talk about quickly, which relates to our Quest for Presence work, is that the experience of resonance in any of those examples I just gave is a treasure. That resonance, when we have these moments of things just seem to resonate, and those are experiences that are not different than the experience of awe or preciousness or savoring, right? So going back to the soulful capacities, we think, this is a hypothesis, that resonance occurs when, well, in those moments of synchronicity. That's a hallmark of synchronicity. It's like, whoa, you know, like in that moment, there was a resonance there, like a connection that happened that came out of nowhere. So those are different. Does that, I hope, wasn't too encyclopedic.
Not at all. That was very interesting. Thank you.
But why is that important to you? Why is resonance something that you?
Well, I feel something you had mentioned about empathic resonance when you're with someone and you have that energy exchange or that vibration, as you were talking about, it just flows from you to them, and there's this exchange of love or energy that you have together. That's how I feel resonance is, when you have an exchange with someone or something or an experience.
Well, obviously you and Laurie resonated together, or this podcast wouldn't have happened.
True. That's right. That's right.
And I resonated with Laurie.
Yes.
She and I had a really great conversation.
Yes.
And I
Right.
resonated with Cynthia. So there we have our synchronicity.
There we have it.
All comes full circle.
Right?
But I liked what you said. I think for me, when we found all of this resonation, like it lifted me up. Like I felt happy when me and Cynthia are talking. I think we talked for like 40 minutes and it felt like 10 minutes. Like it just flowed, and it was easy. And that's how it is with me and Laurie too. Like it's almost like I get bubbly when I have these certain when I resonate with somebody, and when we just start flowing and having these conversations, like it just feels great. I say to Laurie all the time, like when we have these conversations, like my soul's happy. It's a different feeling.
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
Cynthia,
Yeah.
how do you feel about that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I agree with all of that. Definitely, if you think about people in your life, there's just certain people that you resonate with, and sometimes, it can be even someone in your family who you're very close with, maybe it's a very close sibling or parent, maybe you don't resonate with them, right? So it can be really interesting to find people in your life who are somewhat distant from you, yet you resonate with them so much.
Yeah, it's like, it's what we think of, do you know somebody? You know, you don't have to know them to resonate with them. Quote, what does that mean? Yeah, so I know you had, I don't know what questions you have, but you did mention, if you want, I can talk about the new book.
We would
Yes,
love for you to
please.
talk about the new book.
Okay.
Yes, please.
So I'll segue that the one of the underlying currents to a person's life, and I'm talking about the whole time of one's life, not clock time, and not about be here now, but just being present to one's whole life. One of the underlying currents is this idea of purpose or destiny. Where are we all headed? Where's it all going anyway? Why am I here? Who are these people? This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. You know, how did I get here? So, you know, the idea is that we are at some level here because you mentioned Laurie M., the soul, where we resonate with something. We wouldn't, why would we not be here if we didn't resonate with what is happening? In fact, people who suffer from suicidal ideation or meaninglessness, it's because they don't resonate, or they cannot find the resonance, or they lose a sense of resonance. And so underneath it all, the current is underneath all of this is that we are attracted to our own destiny. We're attracted to where we are headed. There's a magnet pulling us into, what's the name of this podcast?
The next perfect step.
Right. Right? So
Yes.
that's the synchronicity. There would be no next perfect step unless there was some attraction to the next perfect step. Why else would somebody want to listen to this podcast unless, you know, well, what does that mean? Right? It's just,
Absolutely.
there's some sequentiality. If it's not occurring in clock time, there's something in the future. There's something about to happen. So what is this attraction? What is it that we're attracted to? And that's what this next book is about. And we've identified different attractions that people have. So Laurie, I'll list off a few.
Please.
And I mean Laurie in the broadest sense of the name. Laurie. And hopefully both Lauries are present. Is that okay? Should I move
Yes,
along?
please.
Okay. All
Please
right.
continue. Yes. No,
All right,
this is a wonderful conversation. It's a big conversation, right? I mean, that's what a lot of people want to know, right? What's their purpose? What they're trying to find, that passion that they're attracted to. It's the big question, right? I mean, I think that this is just wonderful. It's, you know, what everybody wants to know, right? What everybody's longing for. What is my purpose?
Well, it is, I'm going to say before I list some of these out, that there isn't just one. And number two, but that's very important because there's this whole myth of like, my singular destiny. You know, if I find the golden fleece and the Holy Grail and I discover the, you know, the city on the hill and the, I'm able to drink the holy wine, whatever it happens to be, is a myth. That in fact, what's really going on are multiple threads of potentiality that at this moment we're meeting from this point forward in your life. If you're listening to this, there are truly a million different trajectories that could happen. Suppose I say something or Cynthia says something, more likely it's because Cynthia says something, that completely throws you into a whole new way of looking at the world, which ends up leading you down a completely different path than you might have thought of. So the first thing we have to understand is that there's no just one line. It's a weave. I call it a precious weave. And this is different than the law of attraction. It's not about manifesting. It's not about, you know, abundance or prosperity. It's about discerning what's happening as you move toward your, what's the name of the podcast?
The next perfect step.
I keep gluing you on. So it's what is it that's happening between now and the next perfect step? So here's some things to think about. Is what's happening between now and the next perfect step because you are opening to something that you hadn't opened to before, something new, something innovative, something maybe even revolutionary? That's one attraction. Is what's happening now, here's the next one for those of you who are listening, is what's happening now between now and the next perfect step happening because you're challenging yourself. You're taking on a new challenge. You're interested in going in a different direction, not opening, but challenging. You're breaking down old barriers. You're taking on new things. You're taking a stand against. Is that what's happening between now and the next best step? That's another attraction. Another attraction is what's happening between now and the next best step because of your intentions. Maybe you have new intentions, new intentionality, new plans, a new vision, a new goal, a new micro goal, a new long-term goal. Is it your cause, your calling, your destiny, your legacy? That's what is taking you to the next best step. That's the third attraction. Fourth attraction is what's happening between now and your next best step because you are arranging things, you're coordinating, you're looking for new patterns or different patterns, maybe not new, but maybe staying with the old actually and just rearranging things. Maybe you're happy with the way things are and it's just a matter of coordinating people, places, and things, right? Maybe you're looking to reshape your routines and your schedules. And that's all you're looking for. And just that will take you to the next. Say it, Laurie.
Next perfect step.
Or, I'm going down the list here, right? Or is between what's happening now and your next perfect step because you're centering yourself. You're getting centered and grounded and really deeply centered in your life, not even looking at arranging things or doing anything for that matter. Just, bloom where you're planted. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe that's the next attraction. Or here comes one. By the way, Cynthia, just everyone knows, is very much into arranging things. She's a coordinator, her big attraction. Or is it discerning, negotiating, looking for ways, going back to what we talked about before, resonating. Maybe your next perfect step is because you're attracted to finding someone or some people that you really want to discuss things with and kind of find a way that you can discern how you can play together and do something together and just enjoy discerning together. And, you know, maybe that's what it is. Or we're coming around the horn here. There's just a few more left. Or is your next perfect step a function of you just love bringing out the potential of things? You see opportunity. You like nurturing. You like gardening. You like planting seeds and watching them grow. In any area of your life, you're a true potentiator, a true nurturer, and that's your unlike the person who sets an intention, which is about shaping the future. The nurturer is more like, what are the right conditions for things to happen, and what small role can I play to bring the fruit out? That's and there's one more, which is where I like to hang out, which is crafting, like creating new things just because it's fun. And between now and your next perfect step, the only thing between you and your next perfect step is a coloring book.
Absolutely. I mean, this is one of these conversations. I love the attraction things. I mean, like right now, my soul is like, I resonate with this so much. Like, I think we think of a purpose as like a job or one thing we're supposed to do. Like you learn Reiki and that's it. You're a Reiki practitioner forever. Or you know, we ask these kids at 18, what do you want to be for the rest of your life? And I don't think that there's one thing. Like we're supposed to change, right? That's evolving. We're supposed to keep following our attracting and changing and doing things we're attracted to and moving. And I think that that's what I have a hard time with, manifesting. And everyone says you have to put these goals out there to manifest. And why? I don't want one goal. I want all kinds of goals. Like I want one goal today, and tomorrow I want a new goal. And you know, so that's where I feel people feel stuck. And that's where I think we stop ourselves, because we're looking for one thing. And there's one thing for today, and there's one thing for tomorrow, and there's one thing for the next day. And we have to, I want to create space where everybody's okay with doing that.
Yeah, that's perfect. No, and Laurie, you don't have ADD.
Okay.
No, seriously, because I really want to say that our culture has gotten so focused on the one thing, perfectionism, you know, the achieving society, you know, efficiency, right? That is the culprit. That's the culprit. And so when people hear this stuff, it's like, what are you talking about? Do you want to go live in a tree somewhere? And it's not that. It's a more balanced approach. So yeah, and we welcome Laurie to being a time weaver. That's the term we use, time weaver. You're once you start understanding this, you're just weaving time, which is different than I hate the poor old metaphor of the treadmill, Would you rather weave time or would you rather be on a treadmill?
Weave time.
Absolutely.
And maybe I want to live in a tree today and tomorrow by the ocean. That's okay too.
No, just the ocean, please.
Yes, right. Me too.
So those are the attractions. I know I spent a long time there, but hopefully that was helpful to the listeners and the book has an assessment tool to help you discern, where your attractions, might be. And it changes, to your point.
Which is great.
It's so exciting. So, Dr. Bennett, where can listeners get a copy of your book?
There, of course, when will this come out? Do you know when this will?
Probably tonight in a couple hours.
Okay, so not yet. Wait.
2 days.
Wait a few days, but on May 15th, if you go to our website, www.presencequest.life, and you can go there now and fill out a form and we'll make sure we get in touch with you, but we will have links there to be able to help you get the Kindle version, which is what we're looking for our launch, right? But in a short time after, we'll have the paperback. But it's a special $1.99 initial book launch for just $1.99. And it's something you don't even need to have a Kindle reader to read it electronically. Anybody can do that for $1.99. So the presencequest.life, and we have a number of other things there, podcast, including we'll put a link to this podcast on there so people can come back to you. And that's probably the simplest way for now. But
yeah, we'll put your website link in the comments below. And also, I know your books are on Amazon and you have a page, so I'll link that on the bottom too, so people can easily find you and your books.
Yeah, but don't wait, May 15th, not
Right.
before.
Today's the 13th, so we have 2 days to wait.
Thank you. So this is a synchronicity, right? I didn't know that we were going to do this. And so I have to ask, I know we have only another minute here, but of any of the attractions that I listed off there, was there any that spoke to you?
Yeah, so I loved where you were in the crafting, right? Laurie plays music and I'm not musically inclined, but I love painting. And that's where I find really where I become present and creating. I love creating spaces for other people, for myself. Yeah, so that really resonates with me too.
I feel the same way. I like the crafting part, the creativity, but also nurturer was something that because I enjoy having people in a group that we have like this, having a nice discussion and just making that happen and just being together with people. I enjoy that type of situation as well. But so much of it resonates. I'm excited to read the book. Yeah.
I'm so glad you guys, we found you.
Yeah,
Well,
me
we're
too.
grateful for you too, and Cynthia. Yes.
Yeah, so nice to meet you both.
Thank you. Did you have anything to add, Cynthia?
No, I'm happy I was here today. I didn't realize this would happen, but it was synchronicity, so it's all good. It's been a great conversation.
Great. Thank you. And Dr. Bennett, do you have anything to add?
Just wishing you the best with this venture of yours, and I hope that we get to learn more about your unfolding I didn't use the word progress, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I wish you guys the best.
Thank you. And
Thank
this
you
was a
both so
wonderful
much.
conversation. So we thank you so very, very much for joining us. And everyone, until the next episode, how is your intuition leading you to the next perfect step?